I want to share with you today what I consider to be a tragic story about a girl that we're going to call Tara. So a few months ago, after years of working from home, I decided it was time for me to get an office, put on my big boy pants, get out of the house, and so I decided to work at WeWork. We had a relationship with this girl called Tara who showed us around the space, a WeWork employee, and who ultimately sold us the space. And she was the community manager over there, and she's a really sweet person. And then COVID hits, and naturally, not only does it not make sense for us to work from there, it's probably not even so legal for us to go to work. It also would be irresponsible for our own health and the health of those that we love. And so we decide that we're not going to keep going in. And obviously, due to WeWork's orders, I keep receiving emails from this girl that we're going to call Tara saying, come back, it's safe here, you need to keep working. And okay, so we ignore the emails, and we're also getting bills, and they're trying to force us to come back, and whatever that circumstance is, all the while keep getting emails about how safe it is. And then a few days later, we get an email, actually, one of the people in our company had COVID that was working at the space, and the space became contaminated. Don't come back, but we're cleaning it. And then a couple of days later, come back. And we're having this correspondence with this girl, and we're telling her that we don't think that this is so right, and her response basically is this is not my call. It's not my decision. A higher up told me, and that's obvious, right? What does she have to gain from it? But you look at this girl, and it's really tragic because this is a person that you'd imagine is a good person like anyone else. Doesn't want to cause pain, doesn't want to put people in bad situations, spread information that's going to hurt other people. But what is she doing? She's being asked, forced, to behave in a way that obviously is completely against her own morals and really damaging to the world around her. And she is definitely not alone. I mean, this is a situation that you notice throughout our country. Think of a company like Pepsi, where they have a product which is basically poison. A good year for Pepsi is a dreadful year for civilization. Every year there are people that are dying as a result of Pepsi products. Every year there are people that are suffering because they drank Pepsi, and there are the stores that carry it, the people who work for Pepsi. And it's not even enough to sell the Pepsi, but they make commercials basically telling you you're going to turn into Santa Claus if you drink it. There's music designed to make you feel good and elevate you, to manipulate you to buy their poison. We saw this with cigarette companies years ago where they suppressed science because they wanted to make the sale, right? And who do you even hold culpable here? Who is Pepsi? It's every single employee? Is it the CEO, the shareholders? How do you even explain it? And I think that this really ties in very well with the story of Mitzrayim that we have, in the Torah. Throughout the story, we're introduced to a bunch of different characters, Shifra and Puah, right, who are instructed to kill all of the Jewish babies. Nogese Paro, the Shotrim of Paro, who are instructed to work the people and hit them. The Ish Mitzri, who is hitting the Ish Ivri that Moshe ultimately kills, right? All of these people who are asked to be complicit in the crime of Paro. And you could understand the challenge from their perspective. This is what they're being commanded to do. In the same way that's what Tara is being commanded to do, otherwise she's going to be fired. In the same way that the employees of Pepsi, that's what they're being asked to do. And it's very easy to look at it in others and say, that's a terrible thing. But I struggle with it myself. I mean, I run a few companies, and as running companies, you have to make sales, and you have to come up with whatever strategies there are to grow. And it's very hard when you see people around you skirting different fences and behaving in ways that doesn't seem so good. And how are you supposed to compete if that's what they're doing? How are you supposed to sell a product to every single person, even if you don't think it's good for them? Well, what are you supposed to do in that situation, right? You might be a broker, you sell a house. Well, what about when you tell someone that there's another offer on the table, or you tell them it's a great deal even though it's not a great deal? What about that situation? And if you work for someone else, it's easy to see that they're the ones that make you do it. But if you work for yourself, it's easy that you might even be the person putting other people in that situation. And when I think of why this problem exists, I'd say it's very, very simple. It's the answer that I keep getting. When I spoke to Tara, she said, listen, it's in your contract. When you speak to Pepsi, they'd say, well, this is legal to market this way. I actually went to Best Buy to buy a camera, and I asked about the return policy, and the employee told me, you could return it whenever you want, don't worry, no strings attached. I bring the camera back, and they say, oh, it's the 10% restocking fee. I said, but the employee didn't tell me that. Oh, but you signed for it when you signed your name on the credit card or some crazy thing. I didn't sign for it. What is that? I didn't know that I signed for it. Oh, but it's legal. It's legal. Airlines pretending that their price is one thing till you click through, and then there's all these fees, right? But that's legal. Mitzrayim, enslaving the Jews. Oh, but that's legal. Having slaves. Oh, but it's legal. It's legal. We didn't do anything. And I think that's where the Torah's revolution comes in, is that it's not enough to just do what's legal. And if your only boundary is what's legal, you will become enslaved to someone that will force you to violate your own ideals because it's legal. My boss said I have to. What am I going to do? It's only natural that that's what you're going to do. So what does the Torah say? It says, no, we can't have just legal. There's another layer. There's another layer. There's a being that represents omniscience, omnipotence, all-powerful, all-loving, good and just. And that being has a way that he wants you to behave. That being has behaviors that he demands of you, an additional moral code, an additional legal code. And when you subjugate yourself to that, when you swear your allegiance to Hashem, b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha, then when your boss tells you you have to get the people to come back in, you say, listen, I can't work on Shabbat. I can't. This is against my morals. But until you do that, you will always be enslaved. You will always be asked to violate your morals in service of some other cause, some other goal. So may this Pesach be a time where we reaffirm our connection to Borei Olam and his laws, and recognize that through our allegiance to them and through us staying glued to them, that will provide us with the freedom from violating our morals and becoming enslaved to the world around us.